This is a big story. Breaking news, folks. This just came out. The judge has ruled in a motion in this case. Now, in response to Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni's side cited one line from her deposition, and then they included in the exhibits of that line they cited the entire deposition. Blake Lively's side wanted to strike that and say you shouldn't be allowed to share the deposition because it's irrelevant and you're just trying to share it for a smear campaign. And Baldoni's side responded, well, we filed it under seal, so we weren't even trying to share it publicly. Where is the truth here? Well, the judge has ruled this. The letter...
Blake Lively has just delivered a devastating blow to Justin Baldoni in their explosive legal showdown. A federal judge has not only struck down Baldoni's attempt to thrust Lively's entire deposition into the spotlight, but has branded his team's tactics as a shameless abuse of the court system, designed to fuel scandal and speculation. With careers on the line and dark secrets potentially unearthed, one can't help but wonder, was this a desperate gambit by Baldoni to turn the tables, or could it unravel his defense completely, exposing the raw underbelly of power plays in the industry? Stay tuned as we break it all down, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the latest updates on this gripping saga.
The letter broadly asserts that there is no evidence the Wayfair parties, Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, or his firm have participated in a smear campaign against Lively. For support, this is what Brian Friedman said. For support, the letter quotes one fragment of one sentence from Lively's deposition. In the deposition, Lively testifies that she believes that the Wayfair parties have retaliated against her for reporting harassment by engaging in an ongoing smear campaign, but she appropriately refuses to reveal information disclosed to her in confidence by her counsel. The letter also includes as an attachment the entire uncertified 292-page transcription of Lively's deposition.
Here's what just went down in federal court and why it's absolutely massive for Blake Lively. The latest ruling from Manhattan federal Judge Louis Lyman marks a seismic victory for Blake Lively in her high-stakes battle against Justin Baldoni. The judge granted Lively's motion to strike her nearly 300-page deposition transcript from the court docket, slamming it as an unnecessary and manipulative attachment by Baldoni's legal team, representing his production company, Wayfair Studios. Baldoni's side had cited just a single fragment, one incomplete sentence, from Lively's sworn testimony in a letter countering her claims. Yet, they attached the entire 292-page document, temporarily sealed but positioned on a public docket, igniting immediate backlash from Lively's attorneys.
Lively moves under federal court in the court's inherent power to strike the attachment on the grounds that there is no conceivable legal purpose to file the whole transcript. Now, the Wayfair parties have been accused of posting it for strategic media and public relations purposes. Lively contends the Wayfair parties have done so in order to advance a false narrative that Miss Lively is afraid of her deposition testimony becoming public, which is entirely untrue. The court agrees that inclusion of the entire deposition transcript served no proper purpose and accordingly grants the motion to strike. Big win for Blake Lively.
Lively's legal team didn't hold back, arguing that this move had no legitimate legal purpose. It wasn't about building a case with evidence or providing context. It was a calculated effort to harass Lively, clog the court, and spark public intrigue. Judge Lyman agreed unequivocally, stating in his order that the attachment served no proper litigation purpose and instead appears to have been intended to burden Lively, and as a result, the court, and to invite public speculation and scandal. He zeroed in on the glaring mismatch. Why flood the record with hundreds of pages when only two were referenced? Baldoni's lawyers offered no convincing justification for including the full transcript, leading the judge to conclude it was a deliberate ploy to force Lively into seeking continued sealing, which they could then spin for their own narrative advantage.
Attachment of the entire nearly 300-page deposition, after citing only 2 pages of it in the letter, served no proper litigation purpose and instead appears to have been intended to burden Lively and to invite public speculation and scandal. The Wayfair parties have not even attempted to argue that the entire deposition was relevant, nor could they. The conclusion is inescapable that the Wayfair parties file gratuitous amounts of irrelevant pages so that if Lively moved for continued sealing of the irrelevant pages, the Wayfair parties could then use Lively's response for their own public relations purposes.
This isn't a one-off misstep. The ruling exposes a troubling pattern from Baldoni's team, as Lyman referenced prior instances where their filings were stricken for improperly stirring media frenzy rather than advancing courtroom merits. For instance, Earlier motions and attachments were tossed out for similar reasons, painting a picture of litigation twisted into a public relations weapon. Lively, who launched this lawsuit alleging sexual harassment and a retaliatory smear campaign during the production of It Ends With Us, now stands vindicated in this round. Her refusal to let the deposition linger as potential tabloid fodder underscores her resolve to steer the narrative on her own terms.
The court has not only the power, but also the responsibility to step in. Again, wild stuff. And now this is like 3D chess by both sides. Wayfair did post the deposition, probably knowing it would be really juicy. But again, what's the point of doing the deposition if the public can't know what was said? Like, Blake Lively is the plaintiff here, right? Doesn't she want her voice to be heard?
So, why would Baldoni's side gamble on such a risky maneuver? Perhaps they believed the deposition's contents could undermine Lively's credibility if leaked or scrutinized publicly. In her testimony, Lively stood firm on her claims of retaliation but withheld confidential details shared with her counsel, a move that protected her legal strategy but left room for speculation. By appending the full document, Baldoni's attorneys might have aimed to create an illusion of transparency while pressuring her into a defensive stance.
It says the Wayfair party's action follows a pattern of using filing on the docket as an opportunity to litigate this case in the press rather than in court. The court has already stricken from the record prior filings made by the Wayfair parties for the improper purpose of inviting a press uproar. The court has likewise disregarded as improper attachments to other filings. Given that there could have been no proper reason for the Wayfair parties to have filed an entire transcript when only a few lines were even arguably relevant, Lively has demonstrated that the Wayfair parties have abused this court's docket. Finally, the Wayfair parties explained that it is routine for the court to consider deposition testimony in connection with discovery disputes. It is not routine, however, for parties to attach an entire confidential deposition transcript when citing only limited portions of that transcript involving only a few lines of text in order to put the other side in the court to the burden of justifying continuing sealing.
But the plan backfired spectacularly, with the judge calling it an abuse of the court's docket, emphasizing that routine discovery practices don't justify dumping confidential materials en masse. The fallout is significant. This victory strengthens Lively's position, potentially denting the credibility of Baldoni's defense. As the defendant, Baldoni has consistently denied the allegations through his attorney, Brian Friedman, labeling them baseless attempts to salvage Lively's image amid promotional backlash for their film. Yet, this ruling casts his team as manipulative, suggesting either desperation or overreach. Could this misstep signal cracks in their legal armor? If the judge perceives ongoing abuse, it could invite sanctions, think fines or evidentiary restrictions, further tilting the battlefield in Lively's favor. Adding fuel to the fire, this ruling comes fresh off Lively's face-to-face deposition last week, conducted at her attorney's New York office. Baldoni's representatives grilled her on the harassment claims and the alleged smear campaign, but those details remain under wraps, thanks to a protective order, another win for Lively, granted by the same judge. This dual triumph, striking the attachment and enforcing privacy, cements the court's intolerance for gamesmanship. But questions linger. What secrets lie buried in those 292 pages that Baldoni's team was so eager to append? And how will this rebuke shape the discovery process, where both sides are still exchanging evidence? Lively emerges empowered, her resolve evident in every calculated move, while Baldoni faces mounting scrutiny, his production company's tactics now under a harsh spotlight. Don't miss a beat. Hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. To fully grasp the weight of this courtroom bombshell, let's rewind and unpack the roots of this fiery feud between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. The conflict erupted on the set of It Ends With Us, a 2024 film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel tackling domestic violence, where Lively starred as Lily Bloom and Baldoni directed while playing her abusive partner, Ryle Kincaid. What started as creative differences spiraled into allegations of misconduct, transforming a blockbuster project into a legal quagmire that's captivated the public. The saga burst into the open in December 2024, when Lively filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, accusing Baldoni and Wayfair Studios of sexual harassment during filming. She detailed unsettling behaviors, including discussions of Baldoni's personal sex life and struggles with pornography, which she claimed fostered a hostile work environment. After raising these concerns, Lively alleged, a sophisticated smear campaign was unleashed, leaked stories, and orchestrated social media attacks, painting her as difficult and unprofessional, a direct retaliation for her reports. Baldoni, through his attorney, fiercely denied these accusations, framing them as fabrications to deflect from Lively's own promotional missteps, which had drawn criticism for downplaying the film's serious themes. The New York Times amplified the controversy on December 21st, 2024, publishing excerpts from Lively's complaint and exposing the alleged PR tactics. Baldoni retaliated with a $250 million libel lawsuit against the Times, later ballooning to $400 million to include Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and their publicists, accusing them of defamation and extortion. Timelines to counter Lively's narrative. Lively responded by amending her federal lawsuit in New York, adding claims from 2 other women who reported discomfort with Baldoni's conduct. By February, subpoenas were flying, even briefly targeting Taylor Swift before being withdrawn. A pivotal moment came in June 2025, when Judge Lyman dismissed Baldoni's massive countersuit, ruling it lacked merit under defamation standards, though Lively's core claims of harassment and retaliation forged ahead. Peripheral players added to the chaos. Publicist Stephanie Jones sued Baldoni for wrongly implicating her in the smear campaign, while celebrity blogger Perez Hilton clashed with a court over subpoenas, earning a judicial scolding for disrespectful filings. This backstory isn't just about personal grudges, it exposes systemic issues in Hollywood. Power imbalances, retaliatory PR, and the weaponization of media. Lively's fight is for accountability, while Baldoni insists he's the victim of a smear to tarnish his feminist advocate image. For more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest scandals, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Zooming in on the legal mechanics, this ruling offers a masterclass in courtroom strategy and its potential pitfalls. In simple terms, a motion to strike asks the court to erase improper material from the record, preventing it from swaying proceedings or public perception. Here, Judge Lyman invoked federal rules and the court's inherent authority to grant Lively's request, labeling the full deposition's attachment as irrelevant and burdensome. The law is crystal clear. Parties can cite evidence in discovery disputes, but dumping an entire confidential transcript when quoting just a few lines is far from standard. It's often a tactic to intimidate or sensationalize. Lyman underscored this, noting that such actions force the opposing side to justify sealing, creating unnecessary work and opening doors to PR exploitation. He cited precedents where similar abuses led to stricken filings, reinforcing the court's duty to uphold integrity over spectacle. Strategically, this was a colossal misstep for Baldoni. By overreaching, his team handed Lively a narrative victory, casting them as aggressors who misuse the court system. In the courtroom, this could erode their trustworthiness, making judges skeptical of future motions. If this pattern persists, sanctions could loom. Think monetary penalties or barred evidence, which would hamstring their defense. For Lively, it's a fortress. The protective order keeps her testimony private until trial, shielding it from leaks that could bias jurors or fuel media storms. But there are risks on both sides. If Lively appears overly secretive, it might raise doubts about the strength of her claims. Her deposition, detailing her harassment experiences and her refusal to divulge counsel confidential information, could resurface if deemed relevant at trial. In harassment cases, victory hinges on compelling evidence, witness statements, communications, or patterns of behavior. Lively has fortified her case with amendments, while Baldoni counters with denials and his own filings. Could this ruling predict trial success? It signals judicial frustration with Baldoni's tactics, potentially favoring Lively if her evidence holds up. But appeals are possible, which could drag this saga out further. The law demands proof. Lively must show harassment occurred and retaliation followed. Baldoni needs to disprove it convincingly. Want to weigh in on who's playing the smarter game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This case stretches far beyond Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, with the potential to reshape how Hollywood navigates disputes and accountability. The ruling could set a powerful precedent, discouraging parties from using court filings as PR weapons in high-profile suits. It sends a message: judges won't tolerate docket abuse, demanding focus on facts over media manipulation. What does this reveal about the system? In celebrity cases, wealth fuels elaborate strategies, but courts are increasingly cracking down, leveling the playing field for accusers like Lively. The broader impact hits at Hollywood's core. Retaliation against those who report harassment could silence victims, perpetuating toxic set cultures. If Lively prevails, it might embolden others to speak out, A Baldoni win could chill future complaints, reinforcing power imbalances. Looking ahead to the March 2026 trial, more twists await: depositions, witnesses, or even last-minute settlements. If unresolved, this case could peel back the curtain on Hollywood's darker side, from on-set dynamics to media influence. This ruling isn't the end, it's a warning shot. If Lively's momentum builds, it could dismantle facades of invincibility, forcing the industry to confront its flaws. But what if a shocking reversal lies ahead, flipping the narrative entirely? What do you think? Does this victory seal Baldoni's fate, or is a bigger twist coming? Drop your take in the comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe to stay locked in for every jaw-dropping update in this Hollywood showdown.